So Bruno is going to become a presenter of the webinar. And here we go. Bruno, you there?
Yes, thank you so much, Armando. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Bruno Caseira, and I'm going to demonstrate one of the here lab scenarios. And also, you're going to see how you can improve your penetration test skills in a scenario like that. So, in this particular scenario, as Armando said before, this customer has a firewall here. This firewall has 3 network adapters. One is connected to what they call as a servers network. Okay, this is the 10.10.51 network. Then the other network interface card is connected to what they call as the workstations or users network, which is the 10.10.50 network. And the third one, of course, is connected to internet. Okay. As all of the security engagements, there are some rules or some goals that your customer wanted to see you to test. Okay. In this particular case, the main concern of this customer is their DMZ network, which is where they have a FTP server here. Basically, this FTP server has a couple of critical files there, which should be only accessible for the people which are in the on the 10.50 network can connect to the DMZ. Okay, so with that in mind, we needed to plan our attack. So this is now our plan. Let's just wait a couple of seconds so you can see. In our plan, we are going to first use one of the Java exploit. This Java exploit was released at the end of December. We are going to customize this exploit. And this is a client-side exploit, by the way. So once we customize this exploit, we are going to send an email to the user with a malicious link there. Okay, this malicious link is pointed to our backtrack, which is my attacking machine. Let's call it as attack machine. And once the user clicks in this link, the exploit is going to work. And once the machine is exploited, we are going to get a shell on the Windows 7 machine, and from there we are going to try to connect in the DMZ network. So let me just go back here and show how it should work in the lab scenario. So from the penetration tests, we are going to send an email to one user which is running Windows 7. This user is going to click in a link, and we'll go back to my machine, my backtrack, and we'll download and run the exploit. We are going to have a shell on the Windows 7 box. From here, we are going to use a technique called pivot, and from here we are going to cross the file and attack the server which is in the DMZ network. Okay, so with that in mind, let's just do the first step. Let's customize the exploit. So I'm going to open my backtrack. In backtrack, while just wait some seconds so it can show up to you, I'm loading the MSFE console. For all of you who are not aware with Metaxploit, Metaxploit is basically a collection with a lot of exploit payloads and modules which can help us to do our security testing. Okay, So just before preparing our exploit, I was about to forget. We need to start in our lab. Okay. So as you learn security student, you are going to have an account there. So we need to log in. Once you are logged in the members area, you can go to yes. For this lab, we have prepared a special lab, which
Et
is the
tip til,
Hero
hvordan du kan
webinar.
bruge Spotify. Nu hvor du har
And here we can just start in our lab. Okay. At this point, when you click start, all of the virtual machines, firewalls, systems, everything is going to be deployed only for you. Nobody is going to have access to your systems, so don't worry that nobody is going to shut down your machine while you are doing exploitation. As an you can see here in your left, there are a list with all of the scenarios that we have today. Okay. So you have system security scanning, post-explanation, Nessus, Canabel, NetBIOS, sniffing. They are all of the labs that we have. So let's go back to the here webinar. As you can see, the lab was already started. So I'm going to download the tunnel files. The tunnel files are needed in order to connect to the VPN. Okay, so it's a VPN file and a certificate file. Okay, once the files are downloaded, I will go back. I'm going to launch the VPN client. So
Bruno?
open, you can do that by open VPN.
Bruno, can you
Yes.
please make your backtrack in full screen mode?
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
Here you go. You're welcome. I'm going to use my username and the password. So at this point, I'm connecting in the eLearn Security VPN, so I can have access to the lab scenario. Once you see this message, initialization sequence completed, you have an IP address and a virtual interface. So at this point, you are already in the scenarios VPN. So I just have launched the MSF console. Okay. As it takes some time to open, I just have done it previously. But if you wanted to know how to open this screen, you just have to type MSF console. Once you are in the Metaexploit framework, you are going to pick your exploit. So I will type the command use exploit /mulch/browser /java underline JRE17 ISAC. Okay, this is our exploit that we are going to use. I will type the info command. The info command gives to you a lot of information about this specific exploit. So as you can see here, you have the name of the exploit, what are the platform, the rank. You have a couple of details here that I'm going to explain you in a few minutes. And you have also a description. So this explains what kind of vulnerability this exploit uses. So as you can see, it takes advantage of a Java vulnerability. Also, for those of you who wanted to understand a little bit more about the exploit itself, you can take a look in a couple of references here. So also we have in our exploit, I'm going to type show targets, so I can see what kind of targets this exploit is going to run. I will pick the number one, which is Windows, okay, because my target's a Windows user. Also, I will set the SRV host as my IP address. I do the same SRV port 80. I'm going to explain in a few minutes why I'm picking this port. I'm going to set the URI path as voucher. I will explain to you in a couple of minutes why I'm doing that. And I will also set the payload as Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. Also, you can type show options in order to see how this exploit is set right now. So, just to explain a couple of fields here, this is a client-side exploit, right? So we are going to define the port that we are going to listening. So when we send an email to the user, they are going to click in the link and they are going to connect us in this port. Once they are connecting this port and the exploit will run successfully, I have choose the Meterpreter shell and reverse TCP. Meterpreter is a custom shell which is specifically for pen testers. In this kind of shell, we have a lot of modules that you're going to see in a few minutes. So from there, we have commands to hash dumps. You can do privilege escalations and things like that. And reverse TCP means also the exploit runs, it's going to run a payload. It's going to connect back to our machine in the port that we are going to set here. In the file of most of the components, which is 4043, HTTPS, 8, which is HTTP, and so on. I will also set the L host as my IP address here. So let me type exploit. It's going to launch this exploit, and we are going to be listening here. So as you can see, we just have a server listening in the port 80 in this URL. Why we are using voucher here? As you can see in the learn security training, one of the first phases that we have is the information gathering. In the information gathering phase, you should be investigating more about your target. So at this point, you should go in social medias like LinkedIn, Facebook, things like that, and research about your target. So if you need to use any social engineering skills, you can be more effective. Okay. So in this particular case, we have found a user who works for this company. This user is a fan of the soccer club named Barcelona, and we have seen Facebook that this particular user went to the stadium in the day before to watch a game. So we're going to now launch an email client. And we are going to write something which has in the context with the user. Okay, so in this particular case, we are going to say Lionel Messi is going to send an email to the user saying, "Thank you for supporting us in yesterday's game. You bought a T-shirt in the stadium store, so I'm contacting you because you were a winner of a super ticket in our VIP area. So please download your voucher here before it expires." I'm going to just see what is the code in HTML. As you can see here, we have hidden our IP address. So they just see, they don't he doesn't see in the email body. Okay, he's going to just see here, and when he clicks here, the magic happens. So let me send this email. Cool. Okay, the email was sent to the user. Now I'm going to play the user part. Okay, I'm going to connect in the user's machine, which is Windows 7, and I'm going to receive an email. Okay, as I'm a very fan of the Barcelona Soccer Club, I'm really excited to see an email from Messi, right? And this is the email that we got. Let me just open, and I'm going to click here. Okay, this is what a user would do. So I'm going to close the remote desktop, and as you can see in the backtrack, we just got a connection, and the Java Apple remote code execution request is happening right now. So we are sending the exploit to the user. As you can see, with just a click, the user can compromise their machine. Okay, this exploit, as said before, is going to use a vulnerability in the Java. So probably the user has the Java installed there, and now we are saying this stage, and if everything goes well, we are going to get a shell on their machine. Okay, let's just wait a couple of seconds more. By the way, there is people sometimes don't realize that the user is the weak part of the user. Sometimes they put IPS, AV, web application file, things like that, and they forget to train the users. Okay, and most of the attacks today that we see are client-based. So here we go. We got a Meterpreter session 1 open. Okay, so let me type sessions. As you can see, we have a sessions on the 10.10.58, which is probably the Windows 7 box. I'm going to type sessions-i and the session number. And here you go. We are inside of the Windows 7 machine. Okay, with just one click, the user was compromised. Let me type here. You can type some comments in order to understand better the environment. So this is the IP address of the user. You can type sysinfo. With sysinfo, you can see what is the version of the Windows, what is the host name. You can type getpid. Getpid is going to show you what is the PID. You can also run the PS command, so you can see all of the processes that they have. If they have antivirus, if they have what kind of application they have, you can have a good understanding about that. You can also type get UID, so you can see what is the username. Sometimes people like to store some files in the desktop. If you wanted to list the files, you can do right with this command. In this case, we don't have nothing there. Also, you can type netstat in order to watch and see what kind of connections this particular user has. Okay. As we said before, now while we got a shell in the Windows 7, this is not enough for us. Okay. Now our main target is an FTP server, which is in the server's network. So if you take a closer look in the netstat results, you are going to see that the port 21 is open here. Actually, there is a connection from this client to the server to a probably FTP server on the port 21. And if you compare with our scope, you can see that this is the network that we are looking for, 10.10.51. So at this time, if you are in a real engagement, you should consult your contract before you exploit the machine. Make sure that this is the in scope. If you don't do that, you can have some trouble. So, according to the learning security methodology, at this point we should run some phase like privilege escalation, maintaining access, data harvest, internal network scan, and then exploit new systems and pivot. However, as all of these steps take some time, we need to skip this because our time is limited in this webinar. So when you are in a situation like that, when you are inside of an internal organization, next step is going to use you might want to use a technique named pivot. So let me go back to the slides just to explain a little better how this is going to work. So in the pivot technique, we are, as you can see in the slide, it show up to you in a couple of seconds. We already have a interpreter session on the Windows 7 box, which is 10.10.50.8, right? However, now our target is FTP server, which is a completely different network. So when we are doing pivot, we basically send a package to the machine which have already an interpreter session open and say, hey Windows 7 box, please do like a port scan in the FTP server because this host is allowed to access the FTP server. So we send the package to the Windows 7 box. It's going to send it to the FTP server. The FTP server is going to give a response with the result to the Windows 7 box, and also this Windows 7 box has the result it's going to send back to the penetration tester. Okay, so as you can see, we have a firewall in the middle of this process. While this firewall doesn't trust in our machine, the penetration tester machine, this firewall is trusting in the Windows 7 box. So the Windows 7 box can have full access to the FTP server and do in real time, so you guys can see how it works. So I'm going to type background. I'm going back to the interpreter session. I'll type halt print. As you can see, there is no routes there. So I'm going to go back to the interpreter. All right, I'm in the Windows 7 box here. I'm going to run a command named run out route space -s space 10.10.51.0/24. Okay. In other words, I'm going to tell to the Windows 7, I'm adding a route on the Windows 7 box that always that I need a package to this network, I'm going to go through you. Okay. Once this route is done, we are probably able to connect to the Windows to the FTP server in the DMZ through the Windows 7 machine. Okay. One of the interesting things here when you are doing pivot as the target, the victim, the target 2, let's say, the FTP server is not going to see our IP address. What they are going to see is the IP address of the Windows 7 box. So this makes things worse for the people who are making defense for that system. So now our route was done. So let me go back, and I'm going to type how to print. As you can see here, we have now routes. So all that I need to send a traffic to one of the hosts in the 10.10.51 network, I'm going to do that using the session 1 that I have already opened on the Windows 7 box. Okay, this is what the auto route command does. So I'm going to use a port scanner here. I'm going to say that I wanted to do a scan on the FTP server. I'm going to set the port as 21 and I'm going to run. At this point, I'm going to send a package to Windows 7 machine and ask it to scan the FTP server. As you can see here, the port is open. Now I'm going to use in the exploitation process. So we are now reaching the FTP server, right? Which was something that we were unable to do before. However, in order to exploit that server, I need to get more information about it. So what kind of application they have on the FTP port? So this is what I'm going to do with this command: nmap -st-sv -p21 10 10 51 21 p0. Okay, basically in this command I'm going to grab what kind of application they are running on the port 21. As you can see here, we got a problem. We didn't get the results, right? You can see that the port 21 is filtered using the nmap. However, using an auxiliary mode, the port scan, the port is open. Why this happens? Just because the auto route command, it creates a route which can be used only for extensions and modules on the Met, which is inside in the Met exploit. The nmap command, netcat, things like that are outside of the Met exploit framework. They are Linux commands, so they doesn't know how to get this meterpreter session in use as a route, as a gateway. So for this, we're going to use an application named proxy chains. So let me show you how it's going to work. Proxy chains is going to basically get any TCP application that you run through proxy chains is going to use the meterpreter session that you have in order to route your traffic. So I'll type now proxy chains space nmap space -st sv -n p21 and the IP address of the server. Basically, I'm repeating the nmap command. However, I'm adding the proxy chains before of everything. Now we should have the version. Let me see if it works. Yeah, I forgot the -p here. I'm sorry about that. Now it should work. Okay, so what proxy chains is doing is it's getting our command nmap and is using it through the meterpreter session that we have. Okay, so as you could see here, the command worked now successfully. So we have already the FTP version. So next step in exploitation, you need to know if this version is vulnerable first, or if it is not vulnerable. So I'm going to search the version name, the version number, in the Metaexploit framework in order to see if we have already an exploit provided for that. We are looking at this time. You can see that we have already an exploit for this, but if you don't see anything here, you can look in internet, in Google. You can research about. There are a lot of exploits out there. So I'm going to use the exploit. So I will type use exploit free BSD FTP. I'm basically picking that the exploitable, so I'm going to type show options so we can see some of the options. I also will type info so I can have a better understanding of what this exploit does. So I'm going to basically set some parameters here. And now I'm going to run the exploit. At this time, we are going to, as you can see here, this exploit uses a buffer overflow in this particular version. So if everything is okay, we should be able to get a shell on the FTP server. This is the main concern for the security engagement. So let's just wait a couple of seconds and see if we are lucky for this. Once we get a shell, we can also, and you have more targets. It's not the case of this webinar, but if you're in a real security engagement and your customer has to do that, you can use the pVault and do the same thing in another host or in another subnet. Okay, it's kind of common. Look that there is something interesting here. Command shell session 2 open. While it seems that nothing happened here, you can type some comments like host name. You see FreeBSD. You type ls-l. As you can see, we are enumerate some files. So we are basically we were basically successful in our exploitation. We connect there. Okay, if you wanted to see the password file, you can see all of the users which are there. Also, if you wanted to take a better understanding what kind of FreeBSD they have, you can see here. So as you could see, we were able to exploit the server through the pVault technique. Okay. Hopefully this webinar will help for you. I will be here in order to try to answer any questions that you may have. So for now, let's go back with Fernando. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruno. That was amazing. It was just an example of how exploitation can happen here in Herba. So let me get back the control of the screen. And here we go. So yes, this was a great example of a corporate network. Of course, a small corporate network that we made up, in this case, for time reasons. So there's tons of this scenario in our Herba. So as you can see from my screen, there's a list of virtual lab here. What I want you to show is, Bruno has shown how you can access in VPN, how you can access in completely isolated mode. What I want to show you now is what kind of lab manual our pen tester, our nutrition test lab manual here. So these lab manuals are what is given with the lab. So it's a guide that you can use to go through the whole lab. So it's not a capture the flag. None of our labs are in capture the flag mode. So they are very educational. You can use them as a capture the flag without following the lab manual, but we provide this lab manual that you can see here. So in this case, we are seeing a blind penetration test. Okay, a blind penetration test is where you have this network, and you don't know anything about the network. So basically, what you see here is the map of the target network. So in this case, you will find some web servers and some other workstations. So for each lab manual, you will be given the engagement. You will be given the goals of the lab. So, for example, obtain access to one or more machines of the organization network. And you will be given the tasks. In this case, we don't have the task because this is a blind penetration test. So you are going to find out your way through the goals. But if we take another lab manual, for example, a lab manual that has these tasks. Now, this task is the most important part of the lab manual because we exactly, step by step, tell you what you should do to, for example, in this case, apply the post-exploitation methodology that Bruno was talking about a few minutes ago. So we suggest the post-exploitation phase to be a privilege escalation first, maintaining access, data harvesting, and then pivoting. And you will find yourself applying this kind of methodology within one of our virtual labs. So you have these goals. There are a few goals here. So you have to map the internal network, you have to harvest information, you have to exploit services and find out weak password, you have to use the pivoting technique, you have to get database credential, and so on. So I want to show you the task I was talking about. So this task, as you can see, don't tell you exactly what you have to do, but give you the right direction to take. For example, the task number 2 says privilege escalation. So use Meterpreter to obtain higher privileges on the machine. We don't tell you how you can do so because you will find this within our training course, or if you know already how to do it, you can just move on and do it. So this task will give you the right path to take as a professional penetration tester. So you are going to learn exactly what professional penetration testers do. What if you don't know what to do? There are the solutions. So solutions is probably the most important part of the lab manual. Solutions are provided by our instructors. It contain detailed information about each task. So you remember the task number 2 was privilege escalation. So in privilege escalation, you will find the exact command to run within Metasploit. So as you can see, it's very clear which kind of commands you have to run within Metasploit. So even if you don't know how to do, you will find very detailed information within this very long lab manual that's, sorry, it's pages and pages of commands and suggestions of how you should run your virtual labs. So this is in addition of our training course, and this is given with Herba lab, in any Herba lab plan. So as you can see, everything is written by our instructors. So let's move back within the slides. And let me show you here how you can enter HeroLab. So there are basically 2 ways that you have to use HeroLab. The first one is to get HeroLab as a standalone product, as a virtual lab. So let's say you don't feel like enrolling in a training course because you don't have time, I don't know, you already attended a training course, a similar training course, and you were missing the practical side of this training course. So you can just enroll in HeroLab. Now, HeroLab comes on demand. This means that you can get, for example, just 30 hours or 60 hours to use on any of our virtual labs. So you can use these 30 hours at any time in the future. For example, you can use, I don't know, 20 minutes today, and you will be only accounted for these 20 minutes today. You have 1 hour this weekend, and you will only be accounted for that 1 hour. Or you can just enroll with any flat, unlimited plan. In this case, you have, for example, 30 days, and you will have unlimited access for these consecutive 30 days. You are going to get new scenarios every month by our instructors. You are going to get the detailed lab manuals that I've shown to you a few seconds ago. All the solutions to the labs. You can access in VPN from anywhere, from any kind of operating system. You are going to get dedicated resources for each virtual lab. And of course, you're going to get new scenarios for free with any flat plan. What if you want a more proper way to become a pen tester because you lack the basics? So maybe you attended a training course, but this training course was not in-depth enough as it's required to become a professional penetration tester. Then you can enroll in our professional penetration testing course. This is by far the most in-depth course on the subject. It's online, self-paced, so it means that you can advance at your